sound-producing cosmic structure. Scripture has told us that by the word, the expression, the sound, by the word of the Lord were the heavens made, and all the host of them by the breath of his mouth, Psalm 33:6. R. Cowan writes in Science News that the melody lingers on. Sound waves generated in the early universe may have helped orchestrate the striking patterns of galaxy clusters and huge voids seen in the sky today. This strategy has been proposed by several researchers, including Alexander S. Saltzley of Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore. This is illustrated by a slice of sky from the Los Campanas survey. So here we have the very same pattern that we see in smaller laboratory experiments when sound is introduced into a medium. So I sent this up to Mark. Let's give a hand to Mark Favor back there. He's our geek. I get the primary material up to him, and he works on it, makes it look better than I do, and finds the illustrations. And so I needed to send him this illustration. But I sent a note with it in red saying, Mark, we need to turn this around because it appears to be going from right to left. We needed to go from left to right. So he sent it back to me, and I was looking at it, and I had my cell phone out, and I was ready. I was texting him to turn this around, and all of a sudden I realized, we're not thinking in English. We're thinking in Hebrew. And Hebrew goes from right to left. Mark, you had it right all along. Let's give him another hand. He corrected the lecturer. Way to go, Mark. Again. So I get the credit, but he did the work. All right. And I'm enjoying this, and I thoroughly enjoyed getting ready. Under the conditions described in Genesis 1, we're now introduced to the concepts. So now that we have these conditions, where God created a sphere of water, and he said, let there be light. So we now see that sound and water can produce light. But now under these conditions, we're now introduced to the concept of Aqua nucleosynthesis. That is, from water, the synthesis of all the other elements that we know about in the universe, the physical elements. The possibility that all the elements observed in the natural world can, under the right conditions, be synthesized from water? Hang with me. Has laboratory experimentation using the scientific method been able to verify the Genesis 1 potential to create the physical elements on the earth and throughout the universe? Really? Research by Edward Boudreau, PhD, Professor Emeritus, University of New Orleans, Chemistry and Chemical Physics, has demonstrated that all of the chemical elements cataloged throughout the earth and by extension throughout the universe can be created by the energy and vibratory fluttering action of the Spirit of God on day one, all from the available elements of water, and all within a period of less than 3 days under plasma-induced nucleosynthesis. This is astounding. Is it true? Well, let's see. Additionally, Dr. Boudreau demonstrates that rapid energy release and thermal cooling of the earth could be accomplished within 47 hours, making possible a cool earth for the creation of plants on day 3. This cooling could be increased substantially by the stretching of the space fabric as described in Psalm 104 verse 2 and Isaiah 40 verse 22, and the subsequent release of heat in the process. By the way, the book in which he demonstrates that from the technical literature we carry back here by Dr. Boudreau, God Created the Earth. Dr. Boudreau's proposed scenario is termed aqua nucleosynthesis. In his book, he cites the work done at the Proton 21 Electrodynamics Research Laboratory in the Ukraine. Their laboratory experiments prove that all known chemical elements can be produced very rapidly from any pure substance containing one or more elements, including water. It is obvious that the hand of God was directly involved in creating all the physical elements and all that we've experienced from creation forward. So, let's examine this further. This is a chart from the forthcoming book by Associate at Creation Evidence Museum, David Bassett. The acronym for it is SUM. David, can you yell real loudly and tell us the full title of your forthcoming book?
I'm not sure about the final title, Steve, but the model is called the Scriptural Universe Model, and that's why I call it the SUM. It's basically one Earth, two crystalline constructs which divide into three heavens. One, two, three, the Scriptural Universe.
All right. And we're going to help him publish that as soon as he gets the manuscript ready. Okay, awesome is right. David, since I gave Mike 1 month to get the biosphere running, he knows I'm joking. He'll get it ready. So how soon are you going to have your manuscript ready? And there was silence in heaven for half an hour as David was trying to think of an answer to the question. He's a friend. Thanks, David. Thanks so much. So we have 3 of the charts from his forthcoming book. First water, then the periodic table. Quoting Dr. Edward Boudreau and Eric Baxter, they wrote, "This work demonstrates that given water to be the first material substance of creation," Genesis 1, 1, 2, 3, "all naturally occurring chemical elements appearing in the periodic chart of the elements can be derived from water per se. This is totally contrary to the currently accepted evolutionary model of billions of years." And so here it's illustrated. Then again, the same basic thing, but taking it a step further. Instantaneous transmutation. Dr. Boudreau writes, "As a matter of fact, all known chemical elements, including radioactive ones, uranium, 238, etc., have been produced instantaneously in numerous experiments at the Proton 21 Electrodynamics Laboratory in the Ukraine, Kiev. The mechanism invokes nuclear fusion via two-body collisions. Each collision generates a new element in the periodic table of chemical elements." That's awesome. That's absolutely awesome. And here is the same thing said, quoting the director of that laboratory. Some years ago, we had a visitor just walk in during one of the lectures. He stayed for lunch and he introduced himself. And he had an interpreter with him. He said, "I've come all the way from the Ukraine. My father is head of the largest lab at the largest university. He's waiting for you. I've come all the way to invite you. We've been watching you for 20 years on television. I've come all the way to invite you to come lecture to the students at our 5 largest universities in the Ukraine and to visit our laboratories." You see, I was going to get to have a personal tour of the Proton Electrodynamics Laboratory and watch experiments from hydrogen to uranium being created in a matter of hours. And he said, we'll pay your travel, all your expenses, one way. No, he didn't say one way. Round trip, we'll pay all your expenses. And so we were ready to do it. He gave me all the contact information, et cetera, et cetera. He took all my contact information. Then the president of Russia decided to crack down on anything smacking of creation or religion. So I'm still waiting. And it probably will never transpire, but that's okay. To have had the invitation, and it took the president of the country himself to stop it. And by the way, he said, at day, we want you to lecture in all our universities. And he named the 5 largest universities. And he said, in that city, in the evening, we will at our expense, we've been watching you for 20 years on television, we will at our expense rent the largest auditorium. We'll pay for the expenses for you to then lecture on creation each evening. Wouldn't that have been fun? So we'll still see what happens.